Hey everyone, it's Tiffany again. Today I thought I would do a video from the NICU to actually show you kind of like her room and what's going on. You'll have to excuse my lovely appearance, my chapped lips. It's been a rough couple of days. But we are here in San Antonio at the Children's Hospital of San Antonio, acronym CHOSA. And this is the one down in downtown off Santa Rosa. And this is the hospital that we went to for all of our prenatal appointments and with the MFM, the geneticist who went over all of her chromosome stuff for the Trisomy 18, and also the pediatric cardiologist who did all of her fetal echoes. So it was a very familiar group of people that we saw, and it was nice. It was a nice arrival. Everyone was very happy to see us and instantly sprang into action to support us, getting us food and getting her set up and setting up rooms at the Ronald McDonald House and all sorts of crazy stuff. So before I give you a tour, you can kind of see, let me see if I can turn this around. We're outside of basically the hospital works. It's inside this big building. You can kind of see down there. There's lots of people and stuff going on. But it's a really nice hospital. It's really state of the art. So I'll show you the room. So it's pretty much a private room. And you have a ton of storage. And then you have the glass doors that will lead out into the rest of the NICU. And that's her area over there. She's inside her bed. And all of the different devices and things that she needs. And then they got a little recliner area. They set me up with this badass breast pump. This thing has gotten more milk out of me than I've ever gotten my whole life. And then it has this little like makeshift bed thing. These little pieces here, they all come off, so it'd be like a twin bed. And lots of big windows. You still don't feel like you're so claustrophobic. It's really nice. And let's see. Over here. So right now, there she is. She's under the bilirubin lights right now. So that is because she had the high bilirubin, in other words, it's called jaundice, but depending on the level you have, it can get pretty severe. And so in order for them to get rid of that, they have to do these blue lights, which she keeps taking this on. She hates that thing. But these are the two lights. She's under 2 right now. Usually they only do 1, but her levels were pretty high. So we had to try to get them down. They've kind of gone down and then they went back up when we had to travel, and now they're back down again. So we think it's going to be like another day or 2. And we have all these like little bolsters set up for her. The therapist came today, different therapists came and set all this up so she would feel super comfortable and be sitting properly, and she's so happy since we did that. It's like night and day. She was screaming this morning, and then once they set up these bolsters, she instantly went to sleep and has just been sleeping the day away, which she needed. It's really good. And so this machine right here, this thing, it's like a radiant heater up at the top. It does like body temperature. It can weigh her. This whole thing can weigh her. And then she has all of her different cords. You can kind of see. So she's there. So these are all like measuring all of her vitals. This is her tube. I don't know if you can see her nose. This is her little nose tube right here. And that's how we feed her. And then she has this little heart rate thing on her foot. And they all kind of come together into like this mass of cords here. and plug into like the various areas. And so this is where she's being fed right now. So this little thing just slowly pushes the liquid, which is all my breast milk. It all just comes down into the syringe, which goes into the tube, travels along, and then goes into her nose and down into her stomach. So she has an NG tube, which is the nasal gastric tube that goes down into the tummy. Right now she is on continuous feeds because what I didn't know is that the bilirubin lights actually destroy IVs, and we kept having issues with her IVs, like just coming out of place and blowing basically. So she blew through 4 IVs, different spots. She had one right here at one point. It was a unicorn horn, which we thought was kind of ironic. So we finally were like, we don't want to stick her anymore, and let's just stop the IVs. So that means that she had a loss of fluid at that point. So we had to compensate with more of my breast milk. So in order to do that, they had to switch her from bolus feeds to continuous feeds. So right now she's on 9 mLs of continuous continuous feeds, and it's all my breast milk. I'm not using any more donor milk. I've been pumping up a storm with their new machine. It's pretty badass. And basically we just had a meeting with a speech therapist who went over her oral stuff to see, can she feed orally, or is this really like a tube situation? And they said that she has the complete capacity to feed orally. We just need to work on a few things to get her there, but that they think she will be able to very well. So we're going to start taking baby steps. She's on continuous feeds right now, but they just put in orders to put her back to bolus feeds, but we're going to put a higher amount so that she has the same amount of liquids. In a bolus feed, all it is that, let me show you. Right here, this little piece would come off. Oh, sorry. That little piece would come off, and she just woke herself up. And based on, you would plug in the syringe item, you put it into the piece, and you just hold it, and it basically, gravity will bring all of the liquid down into the tube. And that is how she would feed on a bolus, whereas the continuous is this thing pushing it all the way through into her, which is the opposite. But the problem is the continuous feeds aren't natural. So if she didn't show any ability, like sucking reflex or anything, rooting, she even took a little bit of liquid from a bottle, a very tiny amount, just to test it. If she hadn't been able to do that, then yes, we probably would be saying, okay, we're looking at like a NG tube to a G tube situation, which you would install into the stomach, a gastric tube direct. But that was not the case. So she kind of blew all the therapists' minds, like her strength. She was able to lift her head by herself. Her flexibility, her mobility, all of these things, they were just like, wow, that's not typical to Trisomy. So she's, again, just defying odds as usual. But she's doing really good. So we're going to work on the feeds, and eventually the goal is to see if we can just get her off a tube altogether and into either like a breastfeeding situation or bottle feeding, or both, whatever. But just to get her off the tube, and eventually we will get there. It's just going to be baby steps. So all of those little tubes and wires that you saw, they go up into this machine. And you can kind of see, these are the other kids in the rooms. So you want all this stuff on this side. That's all her. So as you can see, she's got full oxygen. Her heart rate's at 125. She's really low because she's sleeping right now, so she's super calm. And then the bottom yellow one is her respiratory rate. And she's just relaxing. And this thing, a lot of times will say that she has apnea and different things going on, but she doesn't, don't worry. Because all we do is look at her, we can see that she's pink and she's breathing. It's just the machines sometimes, especially when they're sleeping and they're deep, shallow breathing, they just don't function properly. So, that's pretty much the whole thing there. So we're in an area called the Goldfish, and I'll see if you guys can see. And basically, oh, there's one of the nurses. It's orange, and there's bays all over. Some of them are open bays, kind of like what we were in McAllen, where it's just a big room with a bunch of babies in it. And others are like this for private rooms. I prefer the private room. It's just a little easier to live and it's more comfortable. The hospital sends food for anybody who's a patient, as well as nursing or postpartum moms. So I luckily am getting as much food as I want. So it's really good because I'm not good about staying on top of feeding myself, especially if I'm trying to create all this milk. It's so important that I eat and drink and all this stuff to create it. I'm looking out the window because I don't know if everyone knows, but in Texas right now, there's a migration of butterflies, and they are everywhere. I don't know if you guys can see them. Look at them all. They're just like flying all over the place. It's really cool. Looks like confetti everywhere. But yeah, and then we have this little desk area, so I'm excited to get my computer so I can start working a little bit, working on my consulting business and start to get that back up and running, and start to do a little bit of work from the hospital. And I think that's pretty much everything. She's doing really well. She's breathing on her own. Her vitals are stable. Her biggest issue is her heart right now. And she has a VSD. She also has a few other things. I can't even pronounce them. But the only one that's really fixable, operable, is the VSD. So we have to make a decision at some point about whether we would want to fix that or not. They say it can be managed on medication up until a certain point, but then, you know, if you're in heart failure, it's either surgery or nothing. So I think it will probably get to that point, but they typically will operate on VSDs with kids like this 3 to 6 months. When they're a little bigger and stronger, she needs to gain weight, you know, stuff like that. But she did today for the first time. She was born at 4 pounds 14 ounces, and she, as of yesterday, was all the way down to 4.5 or 4.4. And today is the first day that she has not lost weight. She gained weight. She's 4.6 right now. So we are making headway and starting to get her little fat back, because she's so skinny right now. You can see every little bone in her body. But I gotta say, she's really content right now. We put the bolsters and different things. As long as, like, she doesn't like the exams, obviously. I mean, who does? And otherwise, though, she's okay. Like, the bilirubin lights are uncomfortable, but I really think it's only going to be like a day or two more of those. And then I'll be able to hold her and do all that stuff. So I think once we're able to do that, she's going to be really happy. Right now I have to limit the holding a little bit because I want to make sure the lights do their job and we don't extend this out like weeks. So we're almost there. Well, what else about the NICU? Things I've learned. I have to sleep. I've been having trouble leaving her. I feel really bad about it. And but last night was the first night I kind of forced myself to go. I left at 11 and I slept, but I called her before I went to sleep. I woke up at 4 to pump, so I called again, and then I woke up at 6, called again, and then I was back here for our 7 o'clock meetings and rounds. So that's going to be it. Someone's coming in, so I'll fill you guys in later.